Hello, I'm Janet Moreno, the Executive Director of Priests for Life. Welcome to Just Ask Janet. Well, we're here in Lent, and as we just had the first Sunday of Lent, and I'm sure some of you have started to think about giving up candy and cake, and some people give up pasta, some people give up bread, some people give up social media, all kinds of different things. But one of the practices of Lent, besides giving up something, is fasting. And some people were fasting on Ash Wednesday, and they won't fast again until Good Friday. And fasting used to be a tradition in the church that we did it a lot more frequently. And so today, joining me is a very dear friend of mine. His name is Dr. Joel Bryn. He's a professor emeritus for Baruch College, and he's got an amazing background, which we're going to talk about. And we're going to talk a little bit about fasting, why it's good for you spiritually, but it's also good for the biology of your body. So welcome to the program, Dr. Bryn.
Thanks. Great to be with you, Janet. Always.
All right. Well, first, give our viewers a little bit of your background.
Well, I got my bachelor's degree from Yale way back in 1971, and I got my PhD from NYU in 1981 in basic medical science, in biochemistry, physiology, and immunology. And for most of my 34 years that I was teaching at Baruch College at the City University of New York, I was teaching human biology and endocrinology, which is all about hormones. And hormones is not just, reproduction and all of that. Hormones is the whole chemical control system and communication system in your body, which regulates everything you do from within. And if you study that, you know a lot about fasting right away. And you realize that it's something that the body is absolutely made for. And,
So tell us, you just said fasting is something the body is made for. Tell us why, because most people, when you say fasting, okay, I hear the complaints all the time. Oh my goodness. I get a pounding headache. My blood sugar is going to plummet. I have to have,
right.
What they say with the church, have a little small snack and just one big meal. That's not fasting. So tell us why biologically fasting is okay for us.
Well, it's more than okay. It's really a matter of considering human physiology. We have to remember, as I have reminded my students on many occasions, that we might think that we're born, in a room that's got right next to a room with a refrigerator and a pantry and
yeah.
And all of that. But in fact, we're really all physiologically cavemen and cavewomen. And the body is designed to wake up in the morning, and the first thing you're going to need to do is find something to eat. It's not just by going to your pantry or your refrigerator, but in fact going out and earning your keep, doing whatever you need to do to be able to support your body. And that means your body is made to go out and expend energy first thing. So the idea that you should get up and first thing is you should have a hearty breakfast is simply not in tune with your body, because in terms of, I remember I remember growing up so many years, and in my adult life also hearing this phrase, breakfast is the most important meal of the day, right? How many times have you heard that? Breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
Yeah, the breakfast, the cereal, the one cereal, Dr. Bryn, the cereal of champions, right? You have to be a champion to have that bowl of cereal in the morning.
Right. So all of that, but the idea that breakfast is the most important meal of the day was actually an advertising slogan concocted by the Armour Meatpacking Company back in the 1920s, because they wanted to sell more bacon. And so they concocted this public relations slogan, breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and it ended up surviving in the culture, as so many things do, even though it's not true. Now, of course, we're hearing a lot more of it. Wear a mask, don't wear a mask. You name it. It's all part of the same tradition of biological misinformation, if you will, not the best of our traditions. But in any case, what happens is about an hour before you wake up in the morning, that is anyone. Your brain tells your pituitary gland, tells your adrenal gland to tell your liver to make you breakfast. And so your liver does that by gathering together proteins from all over the body with the help of another hormone, your cortisol, the hormone from the adrenal gland, tells the liver to get into action and convert all of these amino acids and fats into sugar and into ketone bodies, another fuel that can be made from fat. That's the advantage of the keto diet, which we could talk about also if you like. And that is what raises your blood sugar in the morning and gets you ready for the day. So how many times have we heard about the story of someone, some middle-aged suburban man gets up, has a nice hearty breakfast up there in after a nightfall of snow, has that nice bacon and eggs and coffee and goes outside, starts shoveling the snow and drops dead of a heart attack.
Right.
Because he's telling his heart now to pump blood through all that mileage of muscles right after he's told it to send all the blood to his digestive system to try and digest and absorb all the food he's just eaten. So your body is made to do that. It's made to start the day with this activity that is fueled by the blood sugar that your body has made for you. And it happens, as I said, about an hour before you get up. So for most people, that daily peak in what's called adrenal activity, cortisol activity, happens at about 6 or 7 in the morning, about an hour before you wake up. If you go on the night shift, it takes a couple of weeks, but then your body shifts over to the nighttime, about an hour before you get up, whenever you habitually get up. This is what happens. So in fact, your body is made to do a fast from about roughly 8 p.m., let's say, whenever you're finished eating, till about noon the next day. You have yourself a 14-hour fast every day. So now, of course, it's a big fad. Oh, intermittent fasting, like it's a brand new discovery.
That's what I'm doing.
But
That's what
this
I'm
is
doing,
exactly, yes, this is exactly right. And I do it too. But it took me how many years of even teaching endocrinology before I even realized it, because we get into these habitual manners, these
Right.
habitual ways of thinking, even in a very specialized context, and we don't realize, how come I, didn't think of that? And that's a lot of what science
Right.
is really just noticing things that other people overlook. I kind of made a
Okay.
career of that, so.
Okay, so now your body, I mean, I have a few more questions, but I've been doing the intermittent fasting for, oh my gosh, over 6 months now. And I have to say, I was surprised that I feel more energetic. I'm not starving by the time I get to 12 o'clock. In fact, most days I don't eat lunch till 1. And sometimes on a Saturday, if I'm very busy kind of doing gardening and doing stuff around the house, sometimes I won't look to eat till about 2:30 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon from the night before. And I do what you
Right.
say. I try to stop eating by 8 p.m. Once in a while, if I have company over and it goes into 9, then I say, that's it. And I never, ever thought I could do it. But I guess the question I get, and we're not doctors, first of all, so we're not claiming to give medical advice here, first of all and foremost, but I'm just kind to show people that why aren't we during Lent trying to push the envelope a little bit more and incorporate fasting into our Lenten practice right now? Because, technically, Dr. Bryn, when you get to like Good Friday, we're really supposed to fast all day long. And in fact, years ago in the Catholic Church, there used to be a tradition, and you probably would like to hear this one, that from Holy Thursday night, after you have that beautiful mass and go to visit some churches who have adoration, you're supposed to fast from the Holy Thursday night until after the Easter Vigil on Saturday evening. So that means from Thursday night, say at about 10 p.m., until probably close to 10 p.m. on Saturday night, you don't eat at all. You just drink some liquid like, water or something like that. What do you think about that?
Well, our Lord Jesus Christ was pretty big on prayer and fasting. That was all
Yeah,
part of the Jewish tradition, of course.
right.
In fact, remember there was, I forget where, he talks about about driving out demons in some particularly badly possessed individual, and they came to his disciples, and the family of this man who was possessed, and said, we can't drive this demon out. What, And first he said, well, your faith is not strong enough, and then he says, but it is true that this kind of demon takes a lot of prayer and fasting. And he would go off on to a desert place apart and be in prayer and fasting. And the temptation before he started his ministry was all in the desert, and it was full of prayer and fasting. And so you may wonder about it. Now, I'm not a theologian, and I'm not a priest either. So why am I talking about that? Well, again, relating that to normal physiology, there is something that changes in your physiology when your fast becomes prolonged, and that has to do with the keto diet, in the sense that the whole point of the keto diet is that you don't eat carbohydrates, because although your body needs to run on carbohydrates for fuel to some extent, you don't need to eat any. So in other words, if you don't eat any carbohydrates, then what's going to happen is, in order to get the little bit of carbohydrate that your body needs to run on, it forces your body to make carbohydrates from protein and fat. And it can't make much in the way of carbohydrates from fat. So what is all this keto and fat burning stuff? Well, that's because from fat, it makes another fuel called ketone bodies. Ketone bodies is a water-soluble product of fat, which your body can run on, but not every organ can run on it completely. Your muscles can run on ketone bodies to some extent. Most organs can, your heart can, for example. But what's interesting is that your brain can also run on ketone bodies to a large extent, but it takes probably a day or more before it really shifts over into burning ketone bodies as fuel. And it's a different kind of fuel, and it takes more oxygen to burn it, and it changes, in other words, the physiology of your brain. It shuts off the activities of the digestive system completely, so that literally the chemical energy of the body is focused on areas like the brain, and it runs on a different fuel, kind of a cleaner burning fuel.
Wow.
And so it changes the physiology. Now, what that actually has to do with prayer and driving out demons and all of that, that would be pure speculation on my part. But to the extent that the physiology supports, of course, everything we do spiritually and otherwise, there is a big change, and it's beneficial to do that periodically. So all we can say is that what we do know about the physiology and the endocrinology is it very much supports intermittent fasting basically every day for 14 hours or more, and also periodic fasts of some days in length. Not necessarily 40, but it's good for you. Fasting's good for you.
Well, and what I've been doing, just, I do the intermittent fasting, basically that's 7 days a week. I do that. And then what I've started to do just recently for the past 2 months is from Sunday night at 8 p.m. until Tuesday at 1, I fast. So that's like a day and a half fast, like what you're describing. And I have to tell you, I'm feeling amazing, much better. I really started to move into more of I do keto light diet. I don't do a hardcore keto, but I started doing this during the pandemic last spring. And since last spring, I don't know, well, you haven't seen me in a while, but I've lost over 20 pounds so far. And it comes off slow, but it's steady. It's like slow and steady. But I'm feeling more energetic than ever before, clear thinking. And the other thing, Dr. Brennan, I'm going to ask you a comment real quick on this, and then I'm going to take a question. So we have a question. But when I thought of carbohydrates, I used to think of the obvious: bread, pasta, rice, and all that. But then, since I started paying attention to keto stuff, I now read all the packages, and you'll be surprised how many carbs are in. Like, we were eating all these healthy bars and Oh my gosh, they're loaded with carbohydrates and sugar, some of them. And so what I do now is I shop very carefully. I eat very clean, green, and healthy. And they always say if it grows above the ground, it's thumbs up. And if it's below the ground, it tends to have more carbs, like potatoes and things, you know. But then what I do is on the weekend, I have like pick Saturday or Sunday to be what they call your feast day, where you can kind of have maybe that bowl of pasta once in a while and stuff like that, so you don't go crazy, or a slice of pizza. But then I get right back on my program and go into that day and a half of fast, Monday into Tuesday. So I guess what I'm trying to do here, Dr. Min, is to encourage our viewers to say, you know, we're in Lent right now. This would be the perfect time to really seriously try to fast and pray. Because like you pointed out, I mean, Jesus, before he started his public ministry, he went to the desert for 40 days of prayer and fasting. So if Jesus could do 40, can not we push ourselves a little bit more? And I wanted to have you on a comment about this to show that, you know, it's perfectly healthy for our bodies to do this, is basically what you're telling everybody, right?
Yes, and this is, you know, we listen to the wise, listen to our Lord, and you know, He's not going to
Right.
give you any advice that's not good for your body, right? So,
So,
but this
so
what modern science does is it gives us the you know the chemical processes that are going on that corroborates this knowledge on the level of
right.
physiology that modern day
All right.
understand.
Well, we have two quick questions right now. Tina, she's writing, I'm diabetic, can't really fast. Is it okay to simply give up certain things? So what would you say for diet? And now again, this is not medical advice. You got to check with your doctor. But
Right.
biologically, what would you say about a diabetic?
Well, biologically, my research experience led me eventually to diabetes, which I was heading toward myself. But then one of the things that I discovered had to do with inflammation. Diabetes is now known to be one of those many conditions which is actually due to chronic inflammation. And what we actually now know about that is that really has to do with a chronic deficiency in uh, in actually a single amino acid called glycine. So that's actually what led me to formulate the product Sweetamine that I see there on your table,
And I'm
which is
about to
mainly a
get,
glycine supplement.
well, I'm going to get to that just right now, Dr. Bryn. And this is something you developed, Sweetamine. And I've actually, you know, I've tried it off and on, but I really got serious about Sweetamine back in the fall. And I ordered a supply of it. And I've been taking one little thing of it. I'll get it out to show everybody here. One little package of it. Here we go, Sweetamine. And what I do in the morning, I squeeze a whole lemon, put it in a coffee mug, to go mug. I put my little Sweetamine in and add water of lemon and Sweetamine, and to kind of get my system going in the morning. And I was suffering terribly with, I guess, my hands here because of all the work I do on the computer, and my back was bothering, and my left knee that I had operated on almost 15 years ago for a torn meniscus was driving like really sore. And I started to get almost like where I felt limping a little bit. Since I've been using the Sweetamine, I have to tell you, Dr. Bryn, I have been feeling so much better. But tell everybody a little bit about Sweetamine.
Right. Sweetamine it's basically a supplement of the amino acid glycine. Now you may think we're far afield from diabetes, but we're not really. And here's the connection. The connection between diabetes and glycine has to do with the process of inflammation, as I said. If you pay attention to medical news, you know, even lay publications, for example, now there is generally widespread agreement that everything from diabetes to cancer to arthritis to Alzheimer's disease and so many other things are really due to chronic inflammation, and they don't know why. And what I discovered simply was why. And that turns out that this particular amino acid is the main protector of the switch, which will throw your immune system into inflammation or not. And it tends to go into inflammation when you are glycine deficient, when it shouldn't. So, for example, You sprain your ankle, right? So your ankle gets all stiff and swollen and painful and immobilized, lots of inflammation, and that's perfectly normal, right? No, not right. It does not happen to me, and it won't happen to you either. It will get injured, but it will just heal because the process of inflammation is not normal. It's not natural in the case of injury. It's really only normal to happen during infection. So
Wow.
think of it this way, what inflammation is, it's a process whereby your immune system, certain cells of your immune system, which are called macrophages, and they live in every organ of your body as well as your blood. And they're there as the first responders to respond to infection or injury. So let's say you're on the interstate and there's a pileup on the interstate. There's a big accident on the interstate. Who comes around? The state troopers come around, right? They show up with their sirens and their flashing lights, and they stop traffic, they divert traffic, they take the accident reports, they call the ambulances, they call the tow truck, they redirect traffic until everything's back to normal, and then they go back to their base. Well, they're armed, aren't they? They have guns in their holsters, but they never draw them or open fire because there are no bad actors present. So this is what your macrophages are. They are the first responders. When they cause inflammation, that's when they draw their guns and open fire. And all they do is damage. Why? Because you have an infection. And their job is to kill those infecting microbes before they kill you. But if there
Wow.
aren't any, then
All
what
right.
are
So
they
now we
doing
have,
shooting up the place?
okay, we have two quick questions, and then I want you to tell us a special offer for our viewers for Sweetamine. But anyway, Esther says, I drink a lot of water and I only eat 2 meals a day. Do you think that's good fasting?
Well, it's what I do.
Yeah, that's what
And
I
I would
do.
recommend it. So I don't have to
Yes.
recommend it to you. You already
Yes,
do.
Esther. You're on target, Esther. And drinking a lot of water is also
I
great.
found out that the hard way too. My son, who's a cardiologist, diagnosed me with very serious high blood pressure. He put me on a maximum dose of medication, and I said, "Wait a minute, what's going on? How could that be?" He put me on a diuretic so that I could lose water because my blood pressure was out of control. So that drove me to the library, on the computer to try and figure out what was going on. And I realized ultimately that I was just dehydrated. And the high blood pressure was my hormonal system responding to what it perceived as low blood volume. And
Right,
so,
right.
that caveman physiology is going to kick in and say, hey, we're out here in the desert. We don't have enough water. We better pump up the pressure here before this guy faints.
Okay, now we have one more quick question, and then I want you to tell our viewers the offer you're going to have for them for Sweetamine. But Jerry writes, autoimmune disease of an unspecified nature, is it safe to take Sweetamine if you have an autoimmune disease? And there's a whole range of those, as you know.
Yeah, it generally helps a lot. And the reason is this: Sweetamine is not and does not contain any drugs at all. I'm not a clinician. I'm not a physician. I give nutritional advice, not medical advice. But the trouble is that all of these symptoms that we face, all this inflammation, tends to be really deficiency symptoms. So the fact that Sweetamine works for your arthritis or whatever you're having, or diabetes, or whatever kind of inflammatory problems you're having, the fact that Sweetamine works means that you were deficient in glycine. And here's why we're all deficient in glycine: is that the proteins in animal products, for example, are not evenly distributed. We always talk about high quality protein. Oh yes, meat, fish, and poultry. That's high quality protein. Well, meat, fish, and poultry, when we talk about that, we usually mean the muscle meat. So unlike our forebears who cut the muscle off the bone and threw the bones in the soup, we throw them in the trash. So we
Right.
don't, that's where all the glycine is. And the glycine is needed to neutralize some of the excess amino acids that we get in the muscles. And so our nutrition is way out of balance, and all of these chronic inflammation-based diseases are way higher than they used to be when people didn't waste food and used to eat the bone broth that went along with the muscle meats that they consumed.
That's right. That good old fashioned chicken soup that your grandma made
Oh,
was
absolutely. And my grandma made it. It was the best. Better than
okay.
your
So now,
grandma's.
and mine, Sweetamine. Okay, for our viewers, you have a special offer for them.
Yes, we have what's called a 12-day challenge to give Sweetamine a try, and it's $14.95, usually plus shipping. But if you go on sweetamine.com and you order the 12-day challenge for $14.95 and you enter the discount code Janet. I'm sure everybody can spell Janet, Janet. It's not case sensitive. Just enter Janet and the shipping will mysteriously disappear and you pay just $14.95. And even at that, if you don't like it for any reason at all, you don't even have to return anything. Just tell us you want your money back. We'll give you your money back. So it's very easy, totally risk-free, and risk-free health-wise too. It's just food. It's not medicine of any kind. It's not going to hurt anybody. And especially with autoimmune kinds of conditions or inflammatory conditions,
Right.
you usually find that it helps.
Well, it says right here on your box, Dr. Bryn, it says get the health benefits of 8 grams of glycine, mix 1 packet of Sweetamine into coffee or tea, hot or cold, smoothies or shakes, hot oatmeal or cold cereal, which we're not going to do because we're not eating breakfast, and any food or beverage you like sweet. It says how it works. The pain and stiffness we usually blame on normal aging. A tough workout or an old injury may actually result from an amino acid imbalance in our diet. Glycine is our body's own regulator of inflammation, and these days we often don't get enough of it. Just 1 packet of Sweetamine per day provides enough glycine to prevent unnecessary inflammation anywhere in the body. Those who are suffering from painful effects of excess inflammation usually begin to feel relief within a matter of days. And I have to say, I have too. So
usually it's 2 to 3 days. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's sweetamine.com, right? Is the website.
Yes, and just one other thing to remember, again, not talking about medical advice, but you may be aware that COVID is a disease which Sweetamine is not going to protect you from getting or prevent you from getting. However, what makes COVID life-threatening, that life-threatening pneumonia, is from the body's immune system's overreaction with inflammation.
Right.
And this prevents that. It prevents your body from overreacting to the virus, and that makes a lot of difference. So it's
That's
very
right.
good. And also for recovery from COVID, where many people, they get over it, but they continue to be very weak. They have no energy. Very often, if that happens, you take Sweetamine, and often overnight you'll find the difference because it's inflammation in the muscle that persists in reaction to the virus. So it will, as I say, it's not going to prevent the disease or anything like that, but it sure can prevent your body's overreacting to it.
Okay, and one
makes all
final
the
quick question, Dr. Bryn. They want to know, can we get it in Canada?
You can, and there's a surcharge because it's very expensive to ship things to Canada, but you can order it, and you'll see there's a surcharge that appears on the site. But you'll save that shipping. And if you have any question about anything with the product, you just email us the contact page, or to the website contact at, or I forget, whatever it is. Just fill out the contact page, send us an
And
email,
Dr.
and I
Bryn
will
will
answer.
get back to you ASAP.
Oh, I answer these things personally myself for the most part.
See, that's great. Awesome. Well, Dr. Bryn, thank you for joining us today. And brothers and sisters, I hope you enjoyed this little bit of advice on amping up our prayer and our fasting during Lent and how to get more healthy as we can do the Lord's work. So this is Janet Marano, the Executive Director of Priests for Life. Thanks for tuning in to Just Ask Janet. God bless.